Online lately about how I talk about my family on social media. Typically, I prefer not to give attention to the internet trolls, but now my family is being harassed online and accosted in public, apparently because some people can't handle seeing my happily ever after.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Vow. I'm your host, as always, Kendra Dix here. Glad you can join us here on Vow. We talk about Brian McKnight responds to the criticisms that he has been sent by people about his son's death, Nilo, and why he didn't do enough. We'll get to it in a minute, but first thing first, join in the conversation using the hashtag here on Vow as we talk about Brian McKnight, the R&B singer for Anytime, the popular songs. Now he facing new criticism of not helping out his son Nico, who recently passed away. Well, let's journey back until what Brian McKnight had said right here, right now, of him abandoning his kids and not being in their lives. Take a look.
Brian McKnight here. There's been a lot of discussion online lately about how I talk about my family on social media. Typically, I prefer not to give attention to the internet trolls, but now my family is being harassed online and accosted in public, apparently because some people can't handle seeing my happily ever after. Coming after me is one thing, but the moment you come after my wife and our children, it's another story, because even more important to me than defending my name is defending and protecting them. I want to address some of these recent discussions. There is a very simple reason why I post about some of my children on social media and not others. The children that I do not currently have relationships with, I don't post about them. Instead, I post about the children with whom I do have relationships, with whom I am proud of, and about whom I want to share my pride in their accomplishments. I don't live in the past. I live in the present and the future. I am so proud of the man I am today, the husband I am to my wife Leilani, and the father I am to our children. I'm so proud of our love, our family, our life. So I will, without apology, continue to shout about it as loud as I can. If you can't help or handle seeing happiness and love, then I respectfully ask you, why are you even on my page? Maybe you should ask yourself that too. Another thing a lot of people have been talking about is the lawsuit my adult daughter Brianna brought against me a few years ago. There's been a lot of misinformation about the case and a lot of people who don't know what happened acting like they do. I think it is important to clear up some of that misinformation. In 2020, my biological daughter Brianna sued me for defamation and breach of contract. I posted a page from the lawsuit here and the file number down below so you can look this up for yourself. And you will see that she did not ask for an apology or even ask that I remove the alleged false statement from the internet. All she asked for and all she wanted was money. The case was dismissed before there was any decision whether my statement about her was defamatory. We settled the case earlier this year, and I agreed to pay Brianna some money, but here's the interesting part. She sued me for defamation and breach of $1 million life insurance policy, and I agreed to pay her $318,000 with no admission of any wrongdoing whatsoever. You heard that right. She dismissed $1 million case in exchange for payment of $318,000 with no admission that I did anything wrong and no requirement that I retract my statement or remove it from the internet. If someone said that I did something I didn't do and I won a case proving that I didn't, I demand a public apology. I demand an acknowledgement of wrongdoing, and I demand a retraction of statements. The face value of that life insurance policy was $300,000 with $18,000 worth of interest. I did not defame her. I made no false statements. I made up no stories. You can do what you will with that information in deciding who you think won the case. I know that some people on the internet would rather not know the truth about what happened, but for those of you with an open mind who are more interested in facts than rumors, I hope this helps explain what really happened in that case. Finally, I want to address the abandonment issue for the last time. Those kids and I have had a long history of conflicts, mutual estrangements, and resolutions. But there was a time when we were truly a successfully blended family. Julia, Jack, BJ, Nico, and Brianna. Our home was filled with love and acceptance, so much so that the kids were all calling each other siblings, contrary to the picture that's been painted online. Christmases, birthdays, Thanksgivings, Friendsgivings, all spent together, even standing up for me as my best man in our wedding, along with their brother Jack, which I posted a pic of here. Shortly thereafter, the same conflict over money arose again. We parted ways, and the next thing I knew, there were 2 posts from Brian and Brianna in 2019 telling the world a completely different narrative for the reason why. I never abandoned anyone. Our estrangement was mutual, but those posts made any roads towards reconciliation and acknowledging them a dead issue. And I changed my will the next day. I've spent the last 30 plus years building a recognized, respectable name, and ironically, there are still people out there who are trying to smear my name while still carrying it, hoping to use it for their own benefit. I make absolutely no apologies for naming my infant son Brian. I want him and the world to know that he is the one who is my true legacy. So I'll be over here, continuing to love and protect my wife and our children as we continue to love our life.
All right, you saw right there, Brian McKnight clearing the air about that. But recently, his son Nico, who is an aspiring R&B singer, performer himself, has passed away. Nico was battling cancer, and unfortunately, he lost his fight. But Brian McKnight had this comment he wrote recently, right here, right now. Take a look.
Thanks to Bob McKnight's tasteless and self-aggrandizing announcement on TikTok that frankly was not his to make. In my opinion, he inserted himself and used Nico's death as an opportunity instead of letting him pass with respect and dignity. It has instead turned into a circus, a mockery of a life now lost, making this tragedy into a reality show type drama. While that was unfolding, my family and I flew home to Maui and had a private memorial remembering him and all the good times. The last time he and I spoke, we offered him all the help we could provide. We had the #1 oncologist on deck for him and a team of specialists on standby with private care in our home. He and his mother declined. The door of communication.
All right, you saw Brian McKnight saying he blamed Nico's mom for not giving him able care that Brian McKnight claims that he offered. So Brian McKnight having a strange relationship with his kids and their baby's mothers. And Brian McKnight trying to allegedly do the right thing, but Brian McKnight claims that side, the family don't want no help. So he tried to do his best, but hey, things happen. Well, in a twist of turn surprises, Brian McKnight's brother or brother-in-law came and gave his regards on Nico's passing. Take a look.
So all day, I said to myself I wasn't going to post about this. And as the day wore on, I realized that how could I not post about this? This morning, I found out that my nephew, Nico McKnight passed away. He'd been bravely battling cancer for the last 2 years or so. And I have a lot of feelings right now. I'm not going off a script or anything like that. I'm just going to be raw with how I'm feeling. Nico was one of those amazing kids who was quirky and curious and ridiculously talented. Amazing singer, an amazing guitar player, had a great eye, was a photographer. And just one of those kids that, at least in my estimation, was somebody you always wanted to be around. And so it really sucks that he's no longer with us. And I will also say, probably one of the reasons why I wasn't going to post about it is I post a lot of things, but I don't post a lot of really, really serious subject things, or certainly family things. And I wanted to post this about Nico, about his legacy, about how amazing he is, and not about what some of you may have heard about, you know, the family drama that has existed for quite some time in our family. I'm not here to discuss that or to talk about how that happened or why it happened. This is not the time or the place, but what I will say is, in any situation, there's always at least three sides to a story. There's my side, your side, and the truth. And the truth a lot of times is somewhere in between. So here's the thing. I don't know exactly what was going on there. I know what I've seen. I know what I've heard from all parties involved. And I try not to judge. I just try to be as loving to each person as I can be, because apparently there's so much hurt going on, or was so much hurt going on, that a lot of things didn't get resolved. And again, I want to go back to Nico. I know that kid had a lot inside, a lot eating at him for a long, long, long time. That may have contributed to what happened with him. What I do know is he's out of pain now. And so I can rejoice in the fact that he no longer has to go through the chemo and the radiation and everything else. But I just want to uplift that young man and say we will see him again one day. I love you, Nico. Uncle Claude.
All right, you saw right there, Brian McKnight's relative, family member, in-law, whoever that may be. Brian McKnight, Nico's uncle, said that he offered his condolences on his nephew's passing. Well, it's sad to say that and sad to hear that about Brian McKnight's son and how this family drama could have been resolved once and done. Still, well, hence to this. Let's hear what you people had to say. You people had a lot to say about Brian McKnight not stepping up to take care of his son. But Brian McKnight claims he has offered his help. But otherwise, many people are questioning those questionable circumstances. Let's hear what you had to say on what the people say.
You ask me, Brian McKnight is just as worse as Diddy and all these other monsters we out here picking apart. First of all, you have two sons that you completely disown just because you made them out of wedlock. Now you have other kids that you take care of in the place of them because you feel like the kids that you had before was just made out of sin and they was a mistake. So much so that you name your new child Brian Jr. after you already had a fucking Brian Jr. Then to find out your son is in critical condition with stage 4 cancer, fighting for his motherfucking life, that you don't check on, that you don't worry about, that you don't go see one time, all because you think this kid is a mistake. And you ultimately feel like that was supposed to happen to him because he was made out of wedlock. And then he dies and you get on here with a smile on your face and say, hey, you know, everything happens for a reason. All this shit, not in tears, not heartbroken. Just, nigga, your son just died, bro. Your son just died. I can think about my son hurting himself too bad and I'll cry. And your son just died and you... Nah, that nigga's a demon, bro. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. He fell into his religion so deep that he couldn't even... Never mind. I ain't even... Fuck that nigga. Fuck.
Brian McKnight scares the crap out of me. Like, he's probably one of the most scariest human beings I've ever seen. I just seen a picture of him and I was terrified. Like, there's a demon attached to him. I don't know if it's the tequila talking or what. His son recently passed away and he's been battling cancer for 2 years. He reached out to his dad and said, like, he wanted to basically fix whatever issues they had, and he wanted his dad to tell him that he loved him. This man said no, basically. And it really just feels so evil, like really inhumane, actually. Like, I don't care what my kids do to me, anything like that. I don't think I could ever be that heartless. Like, I don't think there is a heart in the chest. It's kind of just like a black vase kind of thing, and it's holding black fluid, and that black fluid is venomous, and that's all he's able to put out. Brian McKnight was dedicated to showing his first batch of kids how much he dislikes them and doesn't mess with them. This man went so far as to changing his whole name to match his son's name from the second wife. I don't wish that type of dad or a baby father on anybody. And it's especially sad right now because his son Nico passed away from cancer. And you couldn't even tell that boy that you loved him.
This is Nico McKnight, son of Brian McKnight. Some would say disowned, disregarded son of Brian McKnight. We learned today from his Uncle Claude that he passed away after a 2-year battle with cancer. And I cannot help but reflect on the comments and actions of his father. Brian McKnight, once a staple in R&B, arguably the best living R&B voice alive, is now known more for family estrangement than any chart-topping hit he ever had. And as if the story wasn't already painful enough, this news that his son, Nico, has passed away after battling cancer is just heartbreaking. He's gone without the healing, without the apology, and as far as we know, without his father by his side. Brian McKnight has 4 biological children from previous relationships: Brian Jr., Nico, Brianna, and Clyde. But if you followed him recently on social media, you'd think he was only the father to his stepchildren and his new baby boy. Brian has called his biological children evil, negative, and most disturbingly to me, products of sin. He legally changed his name to Brian Keona McCoy McKnight Sr. to match the son that he had in 2023, despite already having had a son named Brian Jr. To me, the message this man tried to send to his children couldn't be more clear. He wanted a fresh start, a new legacy. It didn't include any of the children that bore his last name first. I don't know how anyone could still support this man. It's about accountability. It's about the trauma we carry when parents abandon us and how the pain gets amplified when they do it with a smile, a sermon, and a spotlight. To Nico McKnight, may he rest in paradise. He deserved better. He deserved a life that was full of love without conditions. He deserved a father who showed up.
You people did not hold back one bit. You people think that Brian McKnight was just selling the pipe dream and making things up as he normally do. It could be the case and could not be the case. We don't know. We don't know what the situation is. A lot of families go through drama. That happens. People disagree and agree often, all the times, and hopefully they can work it out. But unfortunately for Brian McKnight and his family, they couldn't work it out till his son's passing until the very end. Well, thank you for watching this edition of Viral. I've been your host, Kendrick Dick, saying so long. We'll see you next time for another edition of Viral.